right, welcome, everybody. We are live with another edition of Cryptocopia's weekly AMA live stream. I'm your host, Mike Spellcheck, and today we're joined by none other than CEO and founder of Kambria, Thuc Vu. Now, Kambria is an open innovation platform. They're in the robotics and the AI space. They raised $16 million in December of 2018, and they're engaging with academics, universities all over the world to spur innovation in those spaces. I was wondering if you could just tell us a little bit about your background personally and how you met the other founders of Kambria and how you started working together on the project.
I actually grew up in Vietnam, but I've been in the US about 20 years. I did my undergrad at Carnegie Mellon, PhD at Stanford, both in computer science, focusing on AI, robotics, machine learning, game theory. After Stanford, I started my first company called Katango. And it was actually the first company that Glenn Perkins invested in as a seed company, a seed round. So we started in June 2010, and then we got acquired by Google at the end of 2011. And so I moved over to Google, stayed there for 3 years, working on Google Plus and then Android. So I left Google and started OhmniLabs in middle of 2015. And so we came up with a really interesting way to develop robotics, which is using 3D printing, like a really fast iteration prototyping method, to allow us to come up with new technology in like a very short time with a low cost. A lot of big companies reach out to us and want us to build robots for them, but they are not able to build these robots themselves. So they reach out to us and ask us to do this. And, of course, we would love to do that. But instead of just us building this, we would love having people to collaborate and work together to contribute the technology, build these really cool robotic products, and then all share the upsides of, when the robots providing value for the society. So that's when Kambria idea, came about. And so we started Kambria in 2017 and, start, building the concept, putting together the idea and stuff like that, and really launch it in 2018.
Which vertical would you move into after robotics, after you finding success there and kind of building out that space?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so just kind of want to reiterate, right? So we chose robotics because there's a uniqueness of this vertical or this industry. The projects are very silo. If you think about it, there's not much sharing in the space. Yeah, because the cost to develop is so high and people try to guard them, right? They come up with something cool and they try to make money out of it. They don't want to share that to the community.
Sure.
If you think about software, right? Linux is one of the most mind-blowing, successful story of the open source community. It's really changing the OS industry forever. Right. And so, we want to duplicate that for this vertical, the robotics vertical, by incentivize developers to be able to contribute and work together, collaborate, and share the upside. So after the robotics vertical, we have a couple of different verticals in mind. One is the UAM. It's called urban aerial mobility. It's another word for self-flying cars. So this is super exciting. So NTU is putting together a project to open source UAM. And, we are in discussion with them to see whether we can be the platform so that support all these work collaboration that they put together. So that's another example. One more area that, I'm actually quite excited about is data analytics for banking. So especially for Vietnam. Vietnam is, has a thriving economy, right? Has a big growth in the past decade. But the banking, the ecosystem is still lagging behind. So all the big banks really want to apply a lot of different data science technology to their sectors. And so they're looking around and, we're putting together this vertical for them, starting with the hackathons, getting the companies to participate, putting out different kind of like challenges for the community to work on, and then continue to build it out into like innovation hub to build this technology so that we can, solve real world needs for these big corporations, getting real revenue, making real impact. So that's what we are aiming for.
Well, I'm really curious how you coordinate all of this. So if you have a lot of different technologists and developers working independently, how exactly do you incentivize them to create a new technology, and especially to get them to share, what would normally be their patent?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a great question. So we spent a lot of time thinking about this. A little bit about my background. I actually studied a lot of game theory back then when I did my PhD at Stanford. And so that's what I actually got drawn into the blockchain space, because I feel like you can really design a new system with game theoretical aspects to align people incentives. And so to answer your question, it's really coming from two sides, right? On the demand side, big companies have certain needs that they for technology that they want to build. And so when we'll work with them, kind of like almost like a consulting company, to really break down what they need, the problem they need to solve, into smaller components, and put them up onto Cambria as a bounty. Okay, so here's $100,000 worth of CAD. If you can solve this bounty or this challenge, and then there will be multiple stages, multiple rounds. First round is going to be design. Second round is going to be prototype, and then third round would be more like production. And then developers can form teams to compete for these bounty. And then best teams for each round will win some prizes and then move on to the next round.
So now, can any team post a bounty? Does it have to go through an official Kambria channel, or can a bounty be posted by anybody?
So ideally, once the platform is mature enough, anyone can post a bounty. But of course, in the beginning, right, we want to really carefully curate these bounties, right? Criteria, right? How much you're going to win, what is the conditions on those stuff, verify the solutions. So that's why, we had to do a lot of hand holding in the beginning.
Since you guys have been working together, what's the innovation that you're most excited that the community's been able to produce?
We got some really exciting, interesting idea of harmonic drive that using 3D printing technology. So you can 3D print the drive. Harmonic drive is very expensive. It's just like a couple $100s for even like a small motors. And you cannot buy bulk. If you buy more than 50 drives, you probably have to wait a year. It's a monopoly of the company that making it. They have the patent over the harmonic drive, right? And they just that's like printing money. But we will some people in the community come up with a really exciting design using 3D printing. And so now we are pushing for it and see whether we can really use this to bring down the cost of the arms and make it a lot more accessible to developers.
I actually saw on your website there's a story of your robot saving a life.
Yeah, it's one of those things that kind of make us feel warm and fuzzy inside, and and give us the motivation to continue on. So one of our user, he was traveling on a business trip, and he's trying to reach his mother. He couldn't call. He tried to call her, but she didn't pick up. And luckily, he had the robot in the house, in the home. So he died into the robot, drove around, and found her, in pain, was in an accident. She couldn't get up. So he died 911, got the emergency team over, and then kind of like, stayed there with her, walked her through the whole ordeal, right? Calmed her down and things like that. Oh, and she, didn't speak any English because she was one of the immigrants. So, it just, it could have been a lot worse without a robot. So, we're very glad that the robot, could provide, could help out in that situation.
Sure.
In that situation.
All right, Thuk, why don't we open it up? Our first member is asking, it's Snor's reaching out, and they want to know why we need blockchain for AI and robotics, and if centralized systems are not good enough.
There are different reasons why we need blockchain. First of all, is because blockchain enable us to build the token economics, right? So as I mentioned, right, we'll be designing a new system in which we'll provide incentives for all the key stakeholders to play well with each other. And so developers can contribute code, technology, user can contribute data and get rewarded in CAD or Karma. Second thing is we want to use blockchain so that first time in the history we can break down the whole innovation process into different stages, from needs to ideation to prototypes to production to commercialization. And then you can participate in any of these stages, depends on your strength, your passion. But with blockchain, we can tie in.
All right, next up, Trapture9. Great name. Great names today, guys. Trapture9's asking what blockchain you're using and what algorithm Kambria will use in the future.
Yeah, so for us, we're leveraging existing infrastructure and technology. So we're using Ethereum. It's quite standard. A lot of support for it. In the future, we're thinking of maybe we'll have our own public chain. Using DPoS probably. I think that's probably going to be the way to go. But we haven't decided on that yet.
Okay, great. Well, listen, that about does it for us. Everybody in Cryptocopia, make sure you follow the Kambria team, in Telegram. I'm sure you guys are on Twitter. You can check out their website. Make sure you're following us as well, because we do these weekly AMA series every week. Right now, we have everybody booked up for February. We haven't, I don't think, announced next week yet, but stay tuned because it's coming. Thuk, thank you again. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much for having us on the program. Quite a pleasure and honor to be here. And, say hi to everyone listening to the Cryptocopia.
All right, great. I mean, the pleasure was all ours. So Thuk, let's sign off. Thank you again for doing this, and we will see you another time.
Yeah. Have a great 2019.
See you too. All right. Bye.